What's happening, guys? So just coming down from a ruck here and thinking about conversation that I have quite often with people that talk about knee pain, specifically when they're coming downhill. And the conversation came up with a backcountry athlete this morning. We were talking about foot and ankle mobility. Now, the greater dorsy flexion that the ankle has, which essentially is when I flex forward, right? When the knee travels out over the toe. The ankle allowing that to happen, right? That's what we call foot ankle dorsy flexion. Now imagine that same motion, right? I'm coming downhill as I am now, okay? I step, plant, the knee travels out over the toe and then my body essentially falls over it, okay? So it's a controlled fall as we're coming downhill. But if the ankle can't go forward, right? Like if it's stuck, if I lack that dorsiflexion mobility, then this joint, your knee, has to do so much more to make up for it. And it also means that you're gonna be in this, like, you're gonna feel like you're gonna fall downhill. Like you're gonna be super apprehensive, you'll lack the stability, there's gonna be a lot more anterior knee pain. So ankle mobility is one component there, okay, to helping you with descents and that type of performance and strength, eccentric strength through the lower body, specifically the knee joint and the quads, all super helpful. But one piece of one of the components that plays a huge role here and will limit dorsiflexion, even if you have it, right, with shoes off, is that if you put on a boot, a stiff, rigid boot, okay, that comes up over the ankle, comes up into the calf, and is stiff and rigid and disallows, again, that to happen, right? Like this is a really low, more of a hiking boot, but a lot of times a stiff leather hunting boot, quote, might come up to like somewhere in here, like over the top or over the bottom of the calf. Now, essentially what you're doing is limiting, okay, because we're essentially bracing the ankle by adding this stiffer boot and higher boot. You're disallowing that dorsiflexion to happen. So just know that if you might think, it's all well intentioned, that you think you're supporting, right, supportive footwear, you think you're supporting the ankles and the foot and potentially the whole lower body by adding this stiff high boot, hunting boot, as the interface to the ground. You might think you're doing something good there, when in fact you might actually be adding to the loads and stress that's specifically at the knee, okay, when you do that. Because if the ankle can't move, the next joint up the kinetic chain is the knee. The knee is a hinge joint. So if you need to be able to go down a steep hill, you're going to have to flex the knee further, putting greater stress on those connective tissues, the patella tendon, quad tissue, etc. And it might be simply because you've got a boot that's too stiff, too high, okay? And you're just adding this undue stress to the knee. So just keep that in mind, and also know that in training, you can train your way into a more stable foot and ankle. And I talk about this a lot. Don't hike through the off season in a super supportive hunting boot. If that's what you're going to wear during the season, and that's a short period of time, hey, go for it. But you might find that training in the off season in a like a trail shoe, or as I'm getting closer to the hunting season, I'm putting on, these are my hunting boots. This is a crispy Laponia. There's just I just got two lace grommets there above above the turn point down at the ankle bone. And that's a very low boot. That's what I'm gonna elk hunt in next week. I'll use that for a lot of the beginning of the deer season. And then after that, I'll switch to an 8-inch, something that's not much higher, but allows my foot and my ankle to move as much as possible without also, you know, we have to keep in mind, we don't want it to be so mobile that it doesn't allow, you know, it's not practical. So I understand that there is such a thing as like sport specific footwear too. So long-winded way of saying, keep in mind that the boots that you're wearing will impact the forces that are going to the knee. And a higher, stiffer boot is going to mean greater force to the anterior knee, specifically when you're coming downhill and you have to, again, flex that knee forward to get over the foot. Good luck, guys.